Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today we have Netflix 404th film, 404, from 2021. It's the Thai mystery thriller called Deep. This one is directed by a team of students from the University of Bangkok, and it stars an ensemble cast. I'm Jesse, I'm your host. Welcome. This is an interesting setup, hey? A group of university students have made a film for Netflix, or has been picked up by Netflix. As always, if this is a film you haven't seen and you're interested in checking it out, give us a pause and come back a little bit later on. Before we get into the crux of the show, though, it's the 1st of December. It's holiday season. This is obviously one of the favorite times of the year for many people, and I always try to plan months in advance some sort of Christmas gift for our listeners. And obviously in the past we've done Podmas. I think we've done that twice, where we put an episode out every day for the month of December. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen this year. I just can't do it. Last year, I did the 12 Days of Christmas, where I put an episode out every day for the 12 days of Christmas. This year, I've got to tone it back down a little bit. I've got to try and stay sane. So instead of one episode a week, we'll have two. There you go. There's a little bonus for you. So instead of just an episode every Monday, we'll have one out every Monday and hopefully Thursday in the lead up to Christmas. I promise to do a little bit better next year and see if I can catch up a little bit in this Netflix journey, because obviously if you're following along, we are in 2021. And we're sort of only halfway through 2021, when in real life time we're towards the end of 2025. So we're 4 and a bit years behind in Netflix original films. So the original plan when making the show was to try and catch up and be up to date with the Netflix original films. I don't think that's ever going to happen, to be honest, but we'll do our best. So thanks for joining us today. Hopefully that's some good news. Let's get back into this film called Deep from Thailand. So we start with the Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film's all about. So this one's about a group of teens or students who join an experiment to stay awake to earn money, and if they fall asleep, they die. There you go. That's the gist of this film. This international film, there's very little online about how it was put together or how it ended up on Netflix. It did film from July 15th, 2020 to the 2nd of September 2020. And the title of the film, I guess, Deep. Deep refers to this experiment where people go deep to try and stay awake. And in Thailand, or in Thai, it was known as Project Lap Pen Thai, or Secret Project Sleep Be Die. There we go. That adds a lot to it. In Spanish, it's called Deadly Dream. That makes sense. In French, it's called Eternal Sleep. Not quite. In Japanese, it's called Deep Awakening Dream. Russian, it's called Pool, like the swimming pool. Interesting. And in Chinese, it's called Sleep Experiment. So a couple of different takes on the title of Deep. This did hit Netflix on the 16th of July, 2021. It was filmed in Bangkok in Thailand. What are the critics and audiences saying about this film? On Rotten Tomatoes, it doesn't have a percentage from the critics. It only has 3 reviews. 2 of them are fresh, 1 of them are rotten. Audience is at 29%. That's on less than 50 ratings, so you'd say pretty low. IMDb, it's got a 5 out of 10, so again on that low end. That's on 2,000 ratings. There is nothing on Metacritic for this film, but on Letterboxd it does have a 2.5 out of 5 on a bit over 8,000 ratings and has been logged by 11,000 people. So again, an international film from Netflix that there's not a lot about online. What are my early thoughts for this one? I think the premise is great. You get on board straight away with where this could go and go, oh, cool, I'm in for this journey. But unfortunately, it turns into almost a campy teen film that's all over the shop. So yeah, not too positive from me for this one. Let's get into the film. Let's talk about the characters. Who are the characters in this film? This ragtag bunch of teens that come together. So we start off with Jane. Jane is our main protagonist. We see her from the start. She is obsessive compulsive character who double checks that the doors are locked, those types of things. I empathize with her. I get this, but that's about as far as I connect with her, because she's so focused on study for medical school and not sleeping, because there's, you got to use every hour of the day. And when her professor at her university suggests that she joins a research experiment on sleep deprivation, I was completely lost. Obviously the stress of her parents they were murdered, and that plays in the back of her mind throughout, as well as on top of that, she's got to pay the bills, to look after her ill grandmother, to look after her sister who never follows the rules. So of course she's going to do anything for cash, and that's that setup for this film, and how we introduce ourselves as the audience to the other teenagers or university students who join in on this experiment. So there's a character called Win. He's I guess the pretty boy. He's the hard-playing party boy who loves life, loves himself, plays a bit of sport, a bit of a jock, and he signs up for the experiment and thinks he's sort of in with a chance with Jane, I guess. His little backstory is that his mother committed suicide, and he struggles with how his dad seems to have just moved on and got over this. And I do think this is probably something that a Western audience doesn't connect with as much, because I think this is a cultural thing in Asian countries. So I think that would hit a bit more close to home there. There's another character called Sin. She is a social media queen who is obsessed with her followers, with how she looks, how many watches on her videos she gets. She has no interest in medicine, but she's there in this course with these other people because her parents are forcing her to do it. Because of her social media, and because she wants to be the best social media person there is, she wants to study, obviously, communication. Peach is a gamer nerd, I guess, who gets on board, and I have really big struggles with this character, because it's revealed that and I've already said the spoilers, but he pretty much stalks the character Sin, the one I spoke about before, the social media girl, and creates all of her social media hits from his weirdness and his obsessiveness. And his message is that it's important to have friends in the real world rather than online, but in a creepy way. So real struggles with that character. The other last few characters, June is Jane's younger sister. I mentioned her when I spoke about Jane. She's the one who is out and about, never home, doing poor things. She ends up joining the program because her sister did, and she wants to support the grandmother and pay the bills too. So when she gets conned into this experiment, there's some sort of ransom that the experiment's not going to let her go until everyone else gets back in. So the whole group decides to rejoin to help her get out of it. It was a weird plot line. And finally, Professor Nietzsche. This is the kind-hearted professor who teaches Jane and the others and gets Jane into this experiment, who turns out to be the mastermind behind the whole experiment, because she wants to save her lover. So there's some of the characters. Let's get into it. The directors, I'm not going to go through each of the 5 directors. There are 5 directors in this film. 2 out of the 5 have done 1 or 2 other things each, and that's about it. So that's where we're at for that. The scenes. Let's talk about some scenes that work. What are some scenes that didn't? Things that work. The credits at the start, they were like, there's a pre-credit scene, which is Professor Nietzsche's husband, but there's these animated neon-like credits. They were super cool. I thought they were good. There's a moment where Win is with his dad and confronts him about throwing all of his mum's things out. I thought that was really, really good and well done, until the final moment where Win walks out. That was a little bit lame. The only other thing, Win, I think this is a reference to, he sort of has the hots for Jane, and he's told no matter how hard you try, she's not going to like you. I just had a laugh at that. I was like, wow, yeah, actually take that on board. That was good. Things that didn't work. June, she gets dropped off at home early in the morning, and Jane confronts her about being in the front seat of this car and asks who's the driver, and her response is like, do you think I'm sleeping around? It felt weird because Jane's a kid. And June's a kid. They're both kids. It just felt weird that this conversation was happening between the two of them. And then the conversation continues to go on with June saying, "Are you going to give me an abortion, seeing as you're going to be a doctor?" Just really bad dialogue. When the group start to earn some money from doing this experiment, Sin says she wants to get a boob job with her money. Like, please, come on. There's more creative things you do. Peach, the gamer nerd guy, he's walking around with Sin. He's obviously we don't know at this stage of the film, you don't know that he's been stalking her, but there was a line about, "Oh, I don't have COVID-19, I swear." I don't know, just bad dialogue. There's this prolonged scene with Jane being angry with June for using her hairbrush. They're sitting in the bedroom together and she's playing her guitar, and the lead up to this and the idea, that there's going to be a big snap. It was so long and so prolonged and not needed. There's this big party at the pool that Win decides to host or put together because he thinks that this will elevate their levels to hit the level 100 that they need to do if they stay up all night and party and have a great time. It was just this C-grade rubbish teen film sort of stuff that didn't add anything to the film. Wynn asks Jane to go to an Ed Sheeran concert. Laughable. The whole team, they reunite. This is to save the sister at the end. They reunite at the lab to do this deep one last time. And there's this big staircase climb, and then there's like action music, I think it said in the subtitles. And then they say, let's go deep one more time before I change my mind. It was just lame. And then again, the crew, the team, they end up in this lab for stage 3. The professor's overseeing this. At this stage, you don't know that the professor is the one behind it all. She says, cool, this is my dad's old lab. You're welcome to stay here to look after yourselves. She gives them their phone number and says, call me if you need anything, if you're in trouble. You get day by day flashes of what's going on. They're really struggling. They get to day 6 and they haven't called her. It just made it so obvious that something was up. And even the professor, if you wanted to show that this professor cares about them, even if the professor doesn't care about them and just wants to observe them, check in on them. Like, what is going on? The whole big brother thing from this professor then too, it was laughable. And when it's revealed, there's lightning and thunder and rain to make it be more scary. It's like this is all added in, so it looks like it's all happening inside. That was so bad. And they finish off the film that no one got paid for level 3. I was just like, oh, how sad. Anyway, the themes, the ideas of this film. It's playing on the idea of sleep deprivation and the impact that it can have on the mind. That's super clear. The importance of sleep, again, plays off that too. The sadness of losing someone you love, whether that's the professor, whether that's Wynn and his dad. Then also the pressures of being a medical student. I think most of them are pretty relaxed, apart from Jane, who obviously wants to do her best and works pretty hard. And friendship. Even if these friendships are forced and weird in the film, the power of working together is obviously a highlight of this film. What else did I take away from the film? This happens throughout the film. They do, and I understand they're university students, but they do this point of view blurred vision when the characters were getting tired. And it was just used so much that it became uninteresting. And I've got to critique that and say that as well. Some other thoughts, some pondering, some questions, some ideas. The Germans. So the professor hires a German guy to be an actor in this lab. I just couldn't help think that there had to be something behind this being a German bad guy. Is this because of the amount of Germans and Europeans that come to Thailand as tourists and probably act pretty grossly? I just had to think that was possibly some sort of underlying message in there. There's obviously that question throughout the film about what lengths would you go to for money, and the idea that money can blind people, and the greed and the need of self-worth is there as well. And I've got, like I said this before, but that Peach guy, what a creep. No matter what, and I don't care if you're trying to push the idea of friendship in this film, these other characters should not associate with him anymore. After it's revealed, he's got this huge bedroom with computer screens, with all of the social media accounts of Sin. He's got photos of her all across the wall. You've got to cut that guy. Jane, obviously, she suffers from insomnia, and she gets up to go to the market at 3 a.m. at some stage. I'm guessing this is normal to have these trading hours, and in Thailand, a market's probably like a supermarket or something like that. But that felt weird. June is younger than Jane. We get that, and is getting home at all hours of the morning. And there's one stage when Jane is getting ready for school, to leave for school when June gets home. Like, this is a 15-year-old. What on earth is happening that she needs to be out at this time of the day? I don't know. It just felt weird. Again, this ties back to the German thing, but I think it was called the Weimar Company, and it was the German guy was called Alexander Fleming. I understand he's German, so English isn't his first language, and I think he hammed this up like he was on Broadway. He needed to be a sinister almost character, that there needed to be some evil to him, not like this look at me and laugh at the lines I'm delivering. I thought that was a little bit weird. And if you don't do level 3, at the end of the film, the team are told, you've got to do level 3 or your sister, she's going to die. Like, how? Like, is it because she's not strong enough? Who knows? Like, why is he blackmailing the crew to come back again? I understand the meaning behind the professor needing more power from these kids to try and bring her husband back to life, but what's the motive? I don't know. Anyway, I'm done. We give the film a rating out of 5. For me, again, I don't know. I was like I said, I was on board with the film. I think the idea is great, but looking back on it, it's probably pretty bad. I think the whole concept is what had me excited, and I'm kind of sad that it wasn't executed very well. And And I guess this is probably what happens when you have 5 directors and even more writers on board with a project. You have such a blurred vision of what you're trying to put on the screen, and I think that's pretty obvious in the end. So I'm giving this a 1.5 out of 5. Pretty low for me. We are on socials. We have X, formerly known as Twitter. We have Facebook. We have Instagram. Give us a follow. Give us a like if you can on those platforms. The question I wanted to ask is what would you do for the one you love? What lengths would you go to? Obviously, I'd do anything as long as it's legal. And that's my answer. What else? What other thoughts do people have? Let us know in the comments for this episode. Other than that, we are into this Christmas season, so let's get festive with a horror film from Halloween. So next week, or not next week, but later this week, we're discussing the 2021 supernatural period horror film called Fear Street Part 3, 1666. This one is directed by Lee Yannick and stars Kianda Madeira, Ashley Zuckerman, Gillian Jacobs, Oliver Scott Welch, Benjamin Flores Jr., and Daryl Britt Gibson. This is obviously the third in the trilogy of those Fear Street films that came out back in 2021. So I have recorded this episode in the past. It's me in the past. It's a repost of what came out. That will be out on Thursday for this festive season. So yeah, you'll be listening to me from the past. I can't remember how well that episode went. Hopefully it goes well. Other than that, listen on Thursday, and we'll be back next Monday with our next film in this festive season. Thanks for listening. We'll see you then.